Welcome everyone to today's debate. Today's debate is entitled, Does Sola Scriptura Foster Disunity and Division in the Body? Today we have two debaters with us. Taking the affirmative position is William Albrecht. William Albrecht is a Roman Catholic who runs the YouTube page youtube.com/GNRhead, and he's also a contributor to catholiclegate.blogspot.com. Turretinfan, who will be taking the negative position, is a Protestant, and his contact information is turretinfan.blogspot.com and youtube.com/turretinfan. Mr. Albrecht, you'll be starting the affirmative position. You'll have 10 minutes for your opening. You may begin when you're ready.
All right. Today's debate brings about an interesting subject. Not long back, my close friend Steve Ray recommended that I debate this topic. He said that it would be a topic quite devastating for those that advocate the position that Sola Scriptura is a viable, tenable, acceptable position to hold. As interesting as it may be to someone that would love to hear a debate on Sola Scriptura, this debate is one that will be taking a different course. We won't be examining whether or not 2 Timothy 3 teaches a doctrine of Sola Scriptura. We won't be examining whether the Father is believed in some form of this doctrine either. Rather, today we will be seeing just what division and disunity this doctrine has caused, or rather, if division and disunity has been caused because of this doctrine. Does Sola Scriptura foster division and disunity within the Christian faith? The answer is quite simple if we examine the result that has come from Sola Scriptura. A splintering of faiths and a line drawn in the sand that has separated Christ lovers the world over is what we can see. As we had previously seen in our perpetual virginity of Mary debate, Turretinfan disagreed with even Francis Turretin over the historical truth of Mary being a perpetual virgin as well. Was Francis Turretin, of whom Turretinfan clearly admires and honors by taking upon his very name, a Roman Catholic or an Orthodox Christian? Surely not. Francis Turretin was a Calvinist, a staunch one at that. He was also an advocate of Sola Scriptura. And so how is it that the real Turretin and Turretinfan both hold diametrically opposing views on this subject, yet both approach the scriptures with a mindset that Sola Scriptura is valid? One cannot help but stop and notice that such disunity is ever so evident within Protestantism. Maybe Turretin will come forth and tell us what he had previously told us, that this is an essential doctrine of the faith. Or as he admitted, that Reformed theology has evolved when it comes to this issue. So how much more will Reformed Christianity have to evolve before it finally finds the right formula? How many variants and theological formulas within the realm of Sola Scriptura will be adopted, then wholesale rejected years down the line? Take James White, for example, the president of AOMN. Years back on a Mormon radio show, on a show where he was dealing with the Mormon, he was advocating premillennialism as a biblical truth. Not long back when I was dialoguing with James White, he was adamant that he does not teach the premillennial rapture. At one point in Mr. White's theology of Calvinism, he believed in the premillennial teaching, a teaching of his that has now evolved into a denial of that. I've said it before and I will say it again. In Reformed Protestantism, you do not know what you're going to get. There is not a set standard of unity. Now, don't get me wrong. This debate does not hinge on whether or not sacred tradition is a viable position or historical truth, or whether or not the papacy is a reality, or whether or not the papacy even creates unity among the Christian faithful. As tempting as those topics are to broach, this debate is going to center on the division and disunity within Protestantism that can be found rampant due to the adoption of Sola Scriptura. In an article written by my close friend Robert Fastigi, he sums it up quite clearly when he says, the Protestant reformers soon discovered that the scriptures were open to diverse interpretations. This led to tensions and divisions among the various groups of reformers. Such experience points to the difficulty with the claim that the true meaning of Scripture is clear to all true believers, and it shows that Sola Scriptura was and has been a principle of disunity rather than unity among Christians. The existence of over 28,000 distinct Christian denominations in the world today is a direct result of the Sola Scriptura doctrine. Now, I am well aware that Turretinfan and Mr. White have gone to great lengths to show that this number is inflated. I, on the other hand, am a firm believer that there are surely, quite possibly, more than 28,000 distinct Christian denominations in the world. I'm not here to argue that, but I believe that at least. I speak quite frequently in a small village in Mexico near a border town, and in that tiny village alone, I have counted over 40 different Protestant denominations. whether differences in regards to abortion, marriage and divorce, baptismal regeneration, infant baptism, or what have you. The differences are significant, and they're not tiny, and many of them bear upon the very salvation of the human soul. Indeed, the wide gap within Protestantism due to Sola Scriptura is very noticeable. If Sola Scriptura did not foster such a division, we would wonder if Miguel Servetus would have been burned as a heretic in Geneva for denying the Trinity as being taught within the Scriptures themselves. Now, I'm not here claiming that Calvin or the Calvinists are to blame for Servetus being burned as a heretic. I would not take such a position, but what I am here to do is to show that Sola Scriptura has caused division and disunity within the Christian body, and that this is a prime example of that. Miguel Servetus claimed to have been a Bible-only Christian, yet he vehemently denied the doctrine of the Trinity. I do agree that Miguel Servetus was indeed wrong. What about Sebastian Castellio? He clearly didn't believe in the perspicuity of the Scriptures, yet he was a Protestant. His view on this ran contrary to the Calvinist notion that Scripture was quite clear, or is quite clear. Castellio was critically opposed by John Calvin due to this. Castellio specifically said that the Scriptures are truly obscure, and often they can be taken in two senses with equal probability. Another case that comes to mind is a case that hits close to home. I have a friend named Aldo. He's a Lutheran. The particular thing about Aldo's church in Mexico is that they actually hold to a number of teachings completely contrary to that of ancient Lutheranism. There are a number of Lutheran groups that argue and oppose Aldo's church. The Ancient Lutheran Congregational Group opposes Aldo's church, aptly titled Ancient Lutheran. Now here's a part that shouldn't surprise anyone. Both of these opposing Lutheran groups hold to Sola Scriptura. Where is this unity? Surely within Christianity it would behoove us to find unity among the faithful, wouldn't it? What if we take up the case of Zwingli and Luther? Zwingli didn't believe in the corporal presence of Christ in the Eucharist, and Luther did. Both based their beliefs in regards to this issue on the sole authority of the Scriptures. As one author aptly put forth, the confusion among Protestants can go on and go on when dealing with the doctrine of Sola Scriptura. Lutherans consider baptism essential. Quakers do not. Baptists consider an adult profession of faith to be an essential prerequisite for baptism, and Presbyterians do not. Presbyterians consider predestination an essential doctrine, but Free Methodists don't. Nazarenes consider personal holiness essential for salvation. Lutherans don't. Calvinists consider the irresistibility of grace essential as a belief. Lutherans do not. Episcopalians consider sacraments as essential. The Salvation Army doesn't. Presbyterians regard the belief in total depravity of man essential. Methodists do not. The Dutch Reformed consider creeds and confessions essential. Baptists don't. Mennonites view non-participation in military service as essential, but Baptists don't. Some Baptists, in fact the majority that I know, consider altar calls essential, but Presbyterians do not. Do you see a pattern here? The pattern that I can notice is a pattern of division and a pattern of disunity. Where is the unity? Where is the unity where Sola Scriptura is adopted? Today's debate, in my eyes at least, is more of a dialogue among two people that are trying to get to the heart of the truth. I consider Turretinfan a good friend, and I'm very interested in him being able to show me that Sola Scriptura does not cause disunity or foster disunity within the Christian body. I think if he's able to give us any good examples on this topic, I think it would be very helpful. I indeed do not think that Turretinfan will be successful, and I do not say that out of pride. I say that in the simple fact that I don't think Turretinfan would be able to debate anybody, even a Protestant that would take the position that I'm taking and be able to prove his case. I think that the division that has been caused by Sola Scriptura is very evident. You can see it no matter where you go. The fact that you have so many splintering divisions, even within Methodism, even within Calvinism, within Lutheranism, the position being taken by individuals is quite simple. The Bible alone, Sola Scriptura, it's preached constantly, and it has not brought any unity. All that it has brought is division and disunity. And today we're going to examine and see if indeed my position is incorrect, or the position of the majority of the Christian faithful is incorrect. And hopefully we'll be able to get down to the issue, and we'll reach a conclusion today. That'll be it for my opening statement.